So we go back with a little bit of a recap, and we see that this blindfold force couldn't even place a thinking step. And asking for light, she followed this clue of darkness, because an inconscient power here is groping towards consciousness. And we've talked about that power. And matter, smitten by matter, glimmered to sense. And everything is kind of subliminal here. Blind contact, slow reactions, beat out sparks of instinct from a cloaked subliminal bed. And we'll go on and on. We see that this whole thing was a mechanical response, a jerk or a leap or a start in this stream of nature. And these rude, unchastened impulses are jostling. They're coming in contact with each other. They're pushing and shoving each other. And they're running, heedless of every motion but their own. And of course, darkling clashed with darker than themselves, free in a world of settled anarchy. So he continues, the need to exist, the instinct to survive, engrossed the tense, precarious moment's will, and an unseeing desire felt out for food. Well, this is the animal consciousness where we see that there's only a need to exist and an instinct to survive. And to engross something is to devote oneself fully to it, to put all of one's attention into it. So it engrossed this tense, precarious moment's will, this will of the moment that is so precarious, that is lacking in security or stability, and an unseeing desire felt out for food. The gusts of nature were the only law. Force wrestled with force, but no result remained. So here we see force wrestling with force, and these gusts of nature, these movements, these rapid gusts, these sudden bursts or outbursts of nature were the only law. Force wrestled with force. A force, of course, is strength or energy, but Sri Aurobindo says that force is nothing but the power of being in motion. And that's from the hymns to the mystic fire. So no result remained. Only were achieved a nescient grasp and drive, and feelings and instincts, knowing not their source, sense pleasures and sense pangs, soon caught, soon lost, and the brute motion of unthinking lives. Well, we go back. Force is wrestling with force. And as a result, we can say there's no winner because no result remained. And what was achieved? A nescient grasp and drive. And Sri Aurobindo tells us, nescience in nature is the complete self-ignorance. In addition to that nescient grasp and that drive of nescience, and feelings and instincts, knowing not their source, sense pleasures and sense pangs, soon caught, soon lost. Well, we know about sense pleasures and we know about sense pangs. They're very quickly caught, but they're also very quickly lost. And of course, the vital always wants more. It never is satisfied. And the brute motion of unthinking lives. So in this world, this kingdom of the little life, we see that it was a vain, unnecessary world, whose will to be brought poor and sad results, and meaningless suffering, and a gray unease. Then he ends this section with, nothing seemed worth the labor to become. And so we're seeing all of these negative things happening, these instincts that don't know where their source comes from, these feelings, sense pleasures, these sense pangs, and this brute motion, this of unthinking lives. It's almost animalistic. It was a vain, unnecessary world whose will to be brought poor and sad results. But there is a will to be there, even though the results are poor and sad. And in addition to that, there was meaningless suffering and a gray unease. Nothing seemed worth the labor to become. Now, we're going to see what Ashwapati sees, what Sri Aurobindo sees. When there's that little break, I always like to rest a moment on those last lines, to let them penetrate my heart and my soul as deeply as possible. Because now Sri Aurobindo is going into a totally different vision and feeling of Ashwapati. But judge not so his spirit's wakened eye, as shines a solitary witness star that burns apart light's lonely sentinel. In the drift and teeming of a mindless night, a single thinker in an aimless world, awaiting some tremendous dawn of God, he saw the purpose in the works of time. Now, this should take us back to Book 1, Canto 1, when we see that all is darkness. There doesn't even seem to be any hope of light, because what the divine has done here has compressed himself so small that the light has diminished. It seems to us a darkness, but it is not. It's just a diminished light that we call darkness. So Ashwapati here, in this drift and teeming, well, teeming is prolific, fertile, abundantly filled with things, abounding in the drift and teeming of a mindless night. So there's no mind here. It's mindless. But he is a single thinker in an aimless world, awaiting some tremendous dawn of God. He saw the purpose in the works of time. Now, of course, time and space are conceptual movements, and Sri Aurobindo calls them the extension of the Godhead in us. But they are infinite. They are not limited. They are the terms of an extension of consciousness. So the last line I have on this page is so powerful. Even in that aimlessness, a work was done. Can I go back to my next page? Here we are. Okay, yeah, okay. Pregnant with magic will and change divine. So pregnant here is full of meaning or significance. Another definition of pregnant, full of meaning, I would say, or significance. So it's full of this magic will and this divine change that's going to take place. And now we continue on even more with the first writhings of the cosmic serpent force. A writhing is a twisting movement with the body, very often in pain that is almost unbearable. And we see someone writhing in agony. So, what is this serpent force? Well, it's a symbol force. Very often it's an evil or a hostile force, but it is the symbol of energy, and especially of the Kundalini Shakti, which is the divine force that is coiled up in the lowest physical center, Muladhara. And when it rises, it goes up through the spine and joins the higher consciousness above. This is from Sri Aurobindo's Letters on Yoga. So we have an idea now of this force, these first writhings. It's writhing because it's not come out as yet. It's a first writhing of the cosmic serpent force. Cosmic serpent force. Uncoiled from the mystic ring of matter's trance. Well, we know by matter, we know it very well that it's only energy vibrating intensely into form. So it uncoils from this mystic ring of matter's trance. It raised its head in the warm air of life. It could not cast off yet night's stiffening sleep, or wear as yet mind's wonder flakes and streaks. Put on its jeweled hood the crown of soul, or stand erect in the blaze of spirit's sun. Not able to do these things yet. It has raised its head in this warm air of life, but it could not cast off yet this stiffening sleep of night, or wear as yet mind's wonder flecks and streaks. A fleck, of course, is a small patch of color or light. It couldn't put on its jeweled hood, the crown of soul, or even stand erect in this blaze of the spirit's sun. So what is happening then? Well, as yet we're seeing only foulness and force. So there is force, but there's foulness. The secret crawl of consciousness to light through a fertile slime of lust and battening sense. Beneath the body's crust of thickened self, a tardy, fervent working in the dark, the turbid yeast of nature's passionate change, ferment of the soul's creation out of mire. Now, we have to keep in mind here that this is not the earth. This is the traveler of the worlds going into the kingdoms of the little life. And that's what he is seeing there. He's seeing this, an attempt at creation, attempt at life. And he tells us that this power has arisen. And it's a very strong power, of course. But it's a first writhing of this cosmic serpent force. And then we see that it has uncoiled itself and it raised its head in the warm air of life, but it's not yet ready to cast off this stiffening sleep of night, or even wear as yet mind's wonder flecks and streaks, or put on this jeweled hood, the crown of soul, or stand erect in the blaze of spirit's sun. As yet we're only seeing foulness and force, the secret crawl of consciousness to light. And where is it through? Through a fertile slime of lust and battening sense. Now, this slime here is something of a foul kind. We usually consider slime that's any ropey or viscous liquid matter, but it could also be slimy mud, slimy earth. But it's through a fertile slime of lust, because there is this lust for creation and battening sense. Battening is a very interesting word here. It's growing and thriving and prospering at someone else, at another's expense. It's growing fat, we could say, through this fertile slime of lust. Beneath the body's crust of thickened self, a tardy, fervent working in the dark. And here we have fervent as a very poetic word here. Burning or glowing, heated working in the dark. The turbid yeast of nature's passionate change. Turbid yeast is unclear. It's not transparent. It's all stirred up, clouded, even opaque. The turbid yeast of nature's passionate change. Ferment of the soul's creation out of Maya. Vladimir, I've been talking a long time. You want to add some things for us?
Truly speaking, I can't say much here. This is something, yeah.
Okay. How can it carry on? A heavenly process donned this gray disguise. So to don something is to put on something. You don a new outfit, a new dress. So this heavenly process is donning this gray disguise, a fallen ignorance in its covert night, labored to achieve its dumb, unseemly work, a camouflage of the inconscious need to release the glory of God in nature's mud. You can see how this attempt is taking place on this plane of existence. This,
what comes to mind, Narad, is the churning of the ocean. And that churning of the ocean creates all divine things one by one. But it needs a lot of work that, dough needs a work of the divine.
Yes.
Clay from which everything is made.
And this is often used by poets, this aspect of the molding of the clay. But there are times when it has to be chiseled out also, as Michelangelo had seen in the slabs of rock and marble. So we see this heavenly process is putting on a gray disguise. And it's a fallen ignorance in its covert night. A covert night is a concealed night, a secret night. hidden from view or knowledge. This fallen ignorance in its covert night labored to achieve its dumb, unseemly work. I once wrote to Amal Kiran about the word dumb, and he wrote to me as follows, quote, Sri Aurobindo uses the word dumb in the sense of mute, but never of stupid or lacking in intelligence. I think the latter usage is more slang than literature. So this fallen ignorance is laboring to achieve its mute, silent, unseemly work. Unseemly is something that is not in established standards of taste or proper form, something unbecoming or even indecorous in appearance or speech. So a camouflage of the inconscious need. Now, a camouflage is always some kind of concealment that alters or obscures the appearance. And we have gone through the inconscious so many times that I will go through it today.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm just curious. In the previous line, labored to achieve its dumb, unseemly work, the its does not have a apostrophe. Is there a reason? Is there a reason for that? I never see a apostrophe for its, but there's an apostrophe everywhere else, like for natures or souls.
Yes,
or
but here there's no apostrophe its. It's covered night, not it is, but it's covered night.
Yeah, with apostrophe it is when it is, yes?
Yes,
Without
exactly.
apostrophe it is genitive case.
I see.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. To release the glory of God in nature's mud. His sight, now this is Ashwapati's sight, spiritual in embodying orbs. So incredible word, embodying orbs. Well, orbs are eyes. So his sight is spiritual in eyes that can embody things, give a tangible body to something, a concrete form to something. And they could pierce through this gray phosphorescent haze. His sight, spiritual in embodying orbs, could pierce through the gray phosphorescent haze and scan the secrets of the shifting flux that animates these mute and solid cells and leads the thought and longing of the flesh and the keen lust and hunger of its will. So he could pierce through this gray. Sri Aurobindo often uses the word gray, phosphorescent haze. Phosphorescent is emitting light without heat. And scan the secrets of the shifting flux. The flux is a constant or frequent change. It can be a flowing or a flow. And it is also used with reference to other forms of matter and energy that can be regarded as flowing, such as radiant energy or particles. So it's an interesting, fascinating one. And scan the secrets of the shifting flux. The shifting flux, it's always moving. So we almost have a line here, which tells us next, in the next line, that it animates these mute, silent, and solid cells. It animates the cells, and it leads the thought and longing of the flesh, and the keen lust and hunger of its will. This too he tracked along its hidden stream, and traced its acts to a miraculous fount. And I want to continue a little more because it's so beautiful, and then we'll close for the day. A mystic presence none can probe or nor rule. So we cannot probe it, we can't rule it. Creator of this game of ray and shade, in this sweet and bitter paradoxical life, asks from the body the soul's intimacies, and by the swift vibration of a nerve, links its mechanic throbs to light and love. So, who is this creator but the divine? This mighty presence none can probe nor rule. Creator of this game of ray and shade, in this sweet and bitter paradoxical life. And it's a paradox, of course, is something that's exhibits an apparently contradictory nature. And of course, our life does exactly that. Asks from the body the soul's intimacies, and by the swift vibration of a nerve, links its mechanic throbs to light and love. This is so high, you see. We think that our nerves are always frayed, or we see darkness, we see challenge, we see pressure. But here it's the swift vibration of a nerve that links the body's mechanic throbs to light and love. It summons the spirit's sleeping memories up from subconscious depths beneath time's foam. And I would have to go into the next page for this, but just a moment. Oblivious of their flame of happy truth, arriving with heavy eyes that hardly see, they come disguised as feelings and desires, like weeds upon the surface, float a while, and rise and sink on a somnambulous tide. Somnambulous is sleepwalking, impure, degraded though her motions are, always a heaven truth broods in life's deeps. In her obscurest members burns that fire. I'll stop there for today. And thank you all for attending.
Thank you, Narad.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Okay, namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Quite a wonderful session. We've learned so much. Yeah. Any questions?
Actually, there is something amazing in this passage, because he shows us how on the lowest level of these forces clashing with each other, seemingly without any reason, there is a wisdom looking through all of them and rearranges all the movements in such a way that the consciousness can step into the physical world and reveal itself in the matter, in the vital. So this is that what he speaks about the mother and her workings, that nobody can understand her workings. They're very swift. So this seemingly disordered, random movement of forces is not random. There is always a choice, infinite choice for the divine to deal with, to rearrange the world as he wants, as he finds it good for him, So this random movement is needed because it is the best kind of freedom of all the forces which he can use anytime to rearrange as he wants it, or as the mother wants it. That's why Sri Aurobindo says nobody can follow her movements. They're much swifter than any higher intelligence can see.
Yes. But we have to remember also, in our widest possible consciousness, that this is the divine's play. Everything is the divine. Nothing is undivine in this world. We may think so. We may feel that this evil and this everything, this unpleasantness that goes on in the world, fighting and war and disagreement and vileness. We think that it's a human thing, but if we rise above this level of consciousness, we will say that this is all a play of the divine. Everything's a play of the divine, who hides himself in matter to rediscover new aspects of himself in this game that he plays with himself and with us. Namaste.
Namaste.